welcome, welcome. Today, I'm going to show you the six bridges to selling to Amazon Japan. Amazon Japan is actually the world's second largest Amazon marketplace, and not too many sellers are even selling in this marketplace. That's why I wanted to give you a special training today on the steps that you can take to get into this. All right. So I assume you guys can see my screen. All right. So first off, before we get into this, let's talk about why selling to Amazon Japan. So I'm just curious if you are interested and if you are live on the webinar, could you just type in why you want to sell on Amazon Japan? I'm just curious. Okay. And I'll go through some reasons why I believe it's a good opportunity to sell into Japan, but I'm just curious of your reason. So if you can type that in, just let me know where we are today. All right. And by the way, my name is Gary Huang. I am calling in from Japan. I'm based in Tokyo, and I'm a Amazon seller myself. And thank you to Accrueme for having me on today. And I don't believe Ben will be joining us. So thrilled to have you guys. Okay, so Amazon Japan is the second biggest Amazon marketplace in the world. So this was a recent study where we found that Amazon Japan has about $68 billion gross merchandise value. And so it's actually bigger. I mean, if you look at Amazon Japan, it's bigger than UK, it's bigger than Germany, and it's bigger than Canada, right? So I'm kind of shocked there isn't more talk about selling in Japan. And Japan also has the fourth largest economy, the GDP in the world. There's the population is 126 million people, which is actually two times the population of the UK. And then in terms of e-commerce, 74% of Japanese people shop online. So literally, most everybody shops online on their phones, and e-com is still forecast to grow very healthy at about 6% a year. Okay. So just a quick shout out to some of you joining us live today. Mandy, thanks for joining us. Mandy says she wants to sell in Japan because it's the second biggest market. We look for somewhere rather than US, and we've been selling for 3 months. Mandy, are you already selling in Japan for 3 months? I'm curious if you can let me know. Reagan says, I need to expand to other markets as the US is too unpredictable. 100%. I mean, given the tariff situation, the good thing about Japan is there's no tariffs. There's no trade war going on between if you're sourcing from China and Japan. So that's one of the big things that you can avoid selling in Japan. Peter says it's obvious to enter a new market to grow profitable sales. So there we are. All right. And Manny says yes. That's awesome. I'm curious. As we're going through this, if you have any questions, guys, feel free to weigh in. I'd like to keep this interactive to add as much value as I can. Okay. Another big reason Japan's a great opportunity is there's less competition. So not too many sellers are aware. Like the last time that we looked at this study, Japan was ranked about number 8 in terms of number of sellers. So that means there's less competition. There's lower review thresholds. It's just, and the competition is actually a lot less sophisticated in Japan. Basically in Japan, there's Japanese sellers and there's Chinese sellers. There's not a lot of sellers from North America or Europe. And a lot of times with the listings, they're not like done very well. They're not utilizing all of the images. The translations sometimes are very rough. I mean, there's a lot of nuances when it comes to language in Japan. So there's still a lot of opportunity. Like some people say it's kind of like a blue ocean opportunity. So like, some markets it's, really saturated. Japan is not yet one of those marketplaces. So basically, I mean, Japan is the second biggest marketplace. Not too many people are selling in. So I just wanted to show you a quick example of in terms of reviews. So everyone knows like the classic example, probably you don't want to sell is a yoga mat, right? Because it's super saturated. I mean, this was a product that maybe you wanted to sell like in 2015, not in 2025, right? So you can see I did a side-by-side comparison. So on the left is a screenshot of Amazon.com US. I did a search for thick yoga mat, and the bestseller had 4.6 stars, 75,632 reviews in the past month. But on the right, this is Amazon.co.jp. In Japan, the same bestseller, like in Japanese, only had 3.9 stars and only 373 reviews. Okay, so if you're thinking like, do Japanese people do yoga? Yes, Japanese people are into yoga as well. So you can see clearly, I mean, this is only one example, but as a general rule of thumb, you're going to see far lower reviews in Japan. So, and then there's another advantage I'll talk about a little later as well, if you're already selling in the US, where you can move over your products into Japan. Okay. The other big advantage is PPC. So if you have already, if you have a listing in Amazon US and you have reviews, then you can leverage that into lower PPC costs because there's just less people selling in Japan and less people bidding in Japan as well. So that's another advantage. And FBA fees will be lower as well in Japan. So if you're, dealing with, escalating inbound placement fees, low inventory level fees, H inventory surcharges across the board, Amazon Japan will have lower fees compared to the US. So you'll be able to reduce your fees. The other huge thing is Trump tariffs, right? So like Reagan said a few minutes ago, Reagan wants to expand to other markets because the US is too unpredictable, especially with the Trump tariffs. I mean, they're up to 145, then went down to like 30, and we're looking at about 55, but who knows what will happen in a couple months down the line. So the good thing is there's no trade war going on between Japan and China. So you only pay the duties, and the landed cost will be significantly less. Okay. And the other big thing a lot of people overlook is the shipping cost. The shipping cost, the ocean freight. I mean, like everyone knows of all the delays, and this thing isn't getting resolved, and Suez Canal. I mean, like this, that, and the other thing. There's like all these different variables causing high shipping rates. The good thing about Japan, if you're sourcing from China, is Japan has super efficient logistics. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. Just look at the map, right? I mean, China and the US, they're separated by the Pacific Ocean, right? So if you ship a container from China to the US, usually it takes about 30 to 45 days. But if you look on the map, Japan is actually China's neighbor, right? I mean, if you board a flight like from Shanghai to Tokyo, like I just flew back to Tokyo last week, it's only about 2.5 hours. Whereas like a flight from Shanghai to like LA, it's going to be about 12 hours, right? I mean, that's like, like 6 times the distance. So obviously, most people ship by sea. So ocean freight from China to US is about 30 to 45 days, and from China to Japan is only 7 to 10 days. So if you think in terms of the cash flow, this means that you don't have to order as much inventory, right? So I actually gave a training to a like a small mastermind community of 7 8 figure sellers, and this was kind of like a mind-blowing like light bulb moment for one of the big 8 figure sellers, because he thought that, hey, I don't have to buy like 3 months of inventory at a time from China, right? I can actually drip feed less inventory because from Japan to China, right? So I think it's kind of ridiculous how more people aren't considering selling into Japan. But I know at the same time, obviously, it's not all like, a bed of roses, right? There's a lot of challenges along the way that it's keeping people from selling into Japan. So I'm just curious, like, if you guys, well, like, what's the biggest challenge that's, keeping you from selling in Japan? I polled about 200 sellers not so long ago, and these are some of the biggest reasons. So if you can just type in, like, just based on your business, like, what do you think is the biggest challenge right now, preventing you from getting into Japan? I'm just gonna take a sip of water in the meantime. So in the previous study that we did of over 200 sellers, some of the key things that were keeping them from selling in Japan included the language barrier. Obviously, Japanese is very different from like German or French. There's no understanding of what's involved, the total ignorance of the marketplace, the steps to seller central, opening up a new account, having FBA there, like the rules, legislation, PPC ads in language because of the language. Traditional marketing may not work, the regulations, getting into Japan, import of records. Some people were worried about property listing translations, and also food import requirements. Yeah. And then Reagan says, I don't know what regulations are in the translations. Okay. So the good news is in today's live training, I'm going to help you answer as much as I can through what I call the 6 bridges to get into Japan. Okay. So Peter says packaging in English, duties into Japan from Australia, comparative selling prices, taxes. Yes. Bill says language. Okay. Excellent. So I'll be able to answer most of these questions, and we'll have some time at the end for Q&A if there's anything that I did not answer. And I'm happy to add as much value as I can. So, quick introduction of myself. So, I've been selling online. Actually, I first started selling online in 2005. Back then, I was based in LA. I'm from LA. I was born and raised in LA. I went to USC. And the first product I sold online was on eBay. I was at that time I created a very small private label brand, and I was selling women's shoes. I was buying from a local importer in LA. That's how I got started. I started selling on Amazon FBA about 2015, and about 2020, that's when my family and I moved to Japan. Kind of related to the pandemic. I won't get into the whole story, but I've been selling in Japan since 2020. I'm also the founder of the Seven Figure Seller Summit. So this is one of the leading online events where we help Amazon sellers build, scale, and exit their businesses. Accrueme, Ben, and Don, they've been great partners. They've spoken at our event, and I also am the founder of the Seven Figure Seller Japan Mastermind. So far, we've hosted two in-person conferences in Tokyo and in Japan, Okinawa, where we help sellers enter Japan. Okay, so enough about myself. Let's get into the meat of this. So today's game plan, we're gonna discuss. We've already covered why Japan and also who's this for, the six bridges to sell to Japan, and a bonus seventh bridge. Okay. So basically, today's training is for you if you are already selling online, especially if you're selling in the US or in Amazon, EU, and UK, and if you're already if you have revenue north of $1 million annual. Okay, the reason I say that is there's certain advantages if you're already an experienced seller selling on Amazon because you can actually carry over your listing and carry over your reviews from, let's say, Amazon.com US to Amazon Japan. I'll get more into that in just a minute. And then we'll get into that. So I just want to make sure the recording is going smoothly. If there, I just want to say, like, make sure, can you guys see and hear me okay? Because I just had like a little pop-up window on Riverside just to make sure. Okay. So if you can do that. Okay, great. Okay. Okay, perfect. Thanks, guys. So let's get into this. So we're going to talk about the six bridges to selling to Amazon Japan. So bridge number one is product market fit. Okay, that's the $1 million question. Before you dive into translation, before you want to figure out the duties, the number one question that should be on your mind, guys, is will my product sell in Japan? The good news is there are a number of tools and a number of ways that you can try to answer this question first. Okay, so I'm going to share the methods with you right now. The first is the Amazon Product Opportunity Explorer. So this is in Seller Central. Okay, so this will be able to give you an idea of the size of the market in Japan. So the beauty of selling in Japan on Amazon is Seller Central in Amazon Japan is almost 95% the same as Seller Central in the US. So if you're already familiar with how to operate Seller Central, brand analytics, product opportunity explorer, all those tools, you can actually access that today. Okay, even without my help, you can do that yourself. Okay, so product opportunity explorer will give you an idea of the size of the market. Okay, and also the other good news is Amazon Japan Seller Central has an English language setting. So you can actually put everything in English so you can understand everything. Okay, it's machine translated. There may be some, hallucinations, etc., but you can get the gist of it for your intents and purposes for product market fit. So that's one. Two is there's a number of third-party tools that support Amazon Japan. So if you're already using Jungle Scout, Helium 10, Data Dive, the good news is all three support Amazon Japan right now. Okay. So there's different degrees of accuracy in terms of these tools because they have less data sets in Japan than they do in the US. So take that with a grain of salt. Okay. The other, so let me give you a quick walkthrough of Amazon Japan's website. Okay, so if you go onto amazon.co.jp, you can do this afterwards. Don't do it right now because you'll lose the presentation. The good news is, let's say let's say you're selling a dog bed. Okay, you can type in the search term in English into Amazon Japan's search bar, and you can see here with the little Japanese flag with the JP next to it, there's a little drop down arrow, so you can actually toggle that to English, and then everything will be machine translated into English. Okay, so obviously it's not 100%, but you can see how the competition looks like. You can see the reviews. You can see how many sales they're getting. So that's a good way to get a quick glimpse of how the Japanese marketplace looks like for your product. Okay. The third way to do product market fit is a nifty little website you may have heard of called YouTube. Okay. YouTube is super popular in Japan. And the good news is, even if you've never been to Japan, you can virtually set foot into like a Japanese household and get like a tour of what it looks like. So let's say you're selling a kitchen product, for example, you can actually type in um, Japan kitchen tour or like Tokyo kitchen tour, like, and then you can get a glimpse of how a kitchen looks like in Japan. So you can see how like the layout and design is very different from, let's say, a kitchen in the US, right? It's not going to be huge. You're not going to have huge counter spaces. And you can also see, like they're using a lot of vertical space rather than horizontal because the rooms are a lot smaller. Right. And then you'll also see that there's certain things that Japanese people like tools, kitchen tools that they use that are different from, let's say, what people use in the US. Okay, so this will give you a high level overview of whether or not your product may sell in Japan. Okay, using Amazon Seller Central's internal tools, using third party tools, and using Amazon's own website as well as YouTube. That's actually four things. Okay. So if you do not see your product at all in any of those, then probably there's not a market for that. It's not 100%, but if you want to like do like high level analysis, that will get you started first. If you do see it, then let's keep going to the next bridge. Okay. Any questions so far before I go on? Okay. I'll just take a minute, take a second and pause while you guys digest that. Okay, if not, let's keep going, guys. So, okay, I'll give you a counter example of a bad product market fit. Okay, taco holders. So I love tacos. I know there's like Taco Tuesday, and a lot of people in the States like they like to make tacos at home, but I hate to break the bad news to you guys, but in Japan, not too many Japanese people are making tacos at home. Okay, so you can't just expect to have a perfect product market fit. That's why you should do this analysis. Okay. All right, let's go to bridge number two, important compliance. I saw a number of people had questions about like the regulations, etc. Okay. Japanese import laws and compliance regulatory policies are different from the US and from EU, obviously. Okay. On a high level, I mean, I'm not a import, customs broker. So don't take this as legal advice, but just from one entrepreneur to another. Okay, there's four key categories that tend to get more scrutiny from the Japanese regulators. Okay, these are supplements, cosmetics, medical devices, and plastic products that touches food or drink. So basically anything that goes on the body or goes in the body, they'll get more um, regulation and more scrutiny. Okay. I'd like you to be aware of the compliance and testing costs. Okay, this may be one of the big hurdles that may keep you or may make or break whether your product will do well in Japan. So let's say you've already validated product market fit. This is the second step. So the cost depends on the size of the product. It depends on the complexity, how many different parts it has, and you may need to test out separate parts of the product, which can be more expensive. So I know most all of you guys already have some, test certifications, lab certifications, maybe from like an SGS, maybe from a lab like in China or lab in Hong Kong. Japan has their own set of regulations, and they may need you to do an additional set of tests to satisfy the Japanese requirements. Okay, obviously your product may vary, but just be aware of the differences in that respect. Okay, as a general rule, you do not need to register a company in Japan. So I know a lot of you guys may wonder, do I need to register a company in Japan? The answer is no. That's the good news. So you can use your, let's say, US LLC, or if you have like a company in Hong Kong or a company in UK, etc., you can use that entity. That's the good news. But the thing to be aware of is you need to have what they call a Japanese ACP. That stands for Attorney for Customs Procedures. Basically, they want to have somebody to represent you in Japan in case they have any questions, in case something goes wrong. They want to be able to pick up the phone and speak to someone in Japanese. Okay, so this is one key difference than selling in other international marketplaces. Okay, so you will need an ACP. Okay. All right, so that's quick overview of compliance and regulatory policies. Okay, let's move on to bridge number three. This is what I call localization or Japanification. Okay, so for Japan, localization means you have to go beyond just translation. Okay, you have to ensure that your listings are tailored to the Japanese market and the culture. Okay, so that includes everything from the product descriptions to the images to the A plus content, to the whole shebang. Okay, so even, I mean, if you look at this example, guys, so I took a screenshot of the Maybelline New York uh, Amazon storefront on Amazon Japan. So you can see here they've localized the listings. They didn't just translate the listings 100%. Actually, if you look closely, you can see that some of it is in Japanese, but some of it is still in English. And even with the English, it's kind of like a little weird. It's not like what you would say as a native speaker. Like, because you can see here, it's like they kept in the English fashion brow, ultra fluffy. So it's actually like a little off, but for Japanese people, especially young people, like certain English phrases are cool. So like if you keep in some English, that's actually, it attracts people like young people more. So you have to be aware of like the nuances of the Japanese marketplace. Okay. So the key is, my recommendation is to get your translations done by a professional, and not only a Japanese person, but ideally someone that has experience with Amazon SEO. Okay. And because that way they can translate the keywords, and also do like the analysis to get the proper keywords, right? Like the search terms that are being searched in Japanese. So just to let you know, the Japanese language actually has three different scripts plus English. Okay, so there's hiragana, there's katakana, there's kanji, which is like Chinese, and there's also like the alphabet. Okay, how do you use what where? That's beyond the scope of today's training. But as a high level you know recommendation, definitely get a local person to do it. And then like with the different scripts, like elderly people may search for something one way, but someone young, like a young person on their phone, may search for something in a different script. Okay. So just to let you know the different nuances, like if you do get a translator, make sure they're native so they know all of these nuances. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. Okay. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick example of Japanification. Pop quiz, guys. What is everyone's favorite Christmas Eve dinner restaurant in Japan? Pop quiz. Can you guess? Okay, it's something that it's probably a place you guys have all been to, but never were aware that hey, people actually come here for Christmas in Japan. Can you type in the chat like what you think? What's everyone's favorite Christmas dinner restaurant in Japan? The most popular place. Like literally, you gotta book a table. Okay, Reagan, you're right. It is KFC. You can see by the little the Colonel's bucket. Okay, it's shocking, but it's true. And this is an extreme example of localization, or what I call Japanification, because so you saw the picture of the kitchen in Japan. Like some of you guys may have noticed, there's no oven. All right, like virtually no Japanese kitchen has an oven. There might be like a little toaster oven, but nobody has like a full-on oven. And then like I think it was like the 60s or 70s, people were watching TV, they were seeing like, Christmas dinner with the turkey and the ham and stuff like that, but there's no way. And you can't find a turkey in Japan either, right? But the very smart marketing execs at KFC, they co-opted Christmas dinner and then they just like said, hey, fried chicken that's kind of like turkey, and it just became a thing. And then like the Japanese people, like there some people think Japanese people are closed-minded, but actually Japanese people are open-minded in certain respects, especially when it comes to some types of foreignness, like whether it's foreign food or fashion, and there are certain like appeals to it. So this marketing exec in Japan, he actually like started promoting KFC as like a Christmas dinner restaurant. So you can see in this old school Japanese picture, these two little kids are fascinated with like the KFC buckets of chicken. So fast forward to today, literally like in December, you'll see like KFC running all these promotions for like Christmas dinner, fried chicken buckets, and it's all like holiday themed, and people are like making reservations on their phone. Like the tables are all booked. Okay. So this is like an extreme example. Other brands like Starbucks, they do this really well as well because like there's seasonal items like with the cherry blossoms in Japan, like the sakura, super popular. So they have like a sakura drink, so there's actually a lot of localization opportunities for certain brands. And even, if we're an Amazon or e-commerce seller, we can borrow from this as well. Okay, so I just wanted to show an example of the Japanification. Okay, so let's move on to bridge number 4. This is shipping, logistics, and 3PLs. So as I showed on the map, okay, logistically, it's just going to be a lot faster. It's going to be a lot cheaper. You're going to be able to turn over the cash flow a lot sooner. I know a lot of you guys work with Accrueme, the good folks there. I mean, like your dollars will go a lot farther. Your capital will go a lot farther because you won't have to. You'll be able to turn the inventory a lot faster, right? So, like for those of you guys that are more like financial minded, you'll understand what I mean because you don't have to place like 3 months of orders. Like literally, I mean, like some sellers only do a month, and they can drip feed it from China. Okay, the other big news that actually was just released last week. I was talking to an executive from AGL. So some of you guys may be familiar with Amazon Global Logistics. I'm just curious, does anybody use AGL? Like just type in yes if you're using Amazon Global Logistics. Okay. So Amazon Global Logistics is Amazon's own freight forwarder. So basically they will ship products from, let's say, your Chinese factory to your US Amazon fulfillment center, the FBA warehouse. Okay. But the advantage of AGL, if you compare them to like a traditional freight forwarder, if you're shipping ocean freight, is AGL would be a lot cheaper. Okay, because it's all like Amazon's vertically integrated vertical company. Okay, so I see several people said no, if you're not using AGL, that's fine. I would consider AGL if you're not using it. Like, if you're shipping by sea, like if you like to try to save some money, you might want to consider AGL because they're well known as probably the most competitive shipper if you're selling on Amazon. So what I mean is you ship from your China factory direct to FBA warehouse. The downside is you have to reveal your Chinese factory's location. So unless you have another like fulfillment center, because like if you reveal that, there's the risk that Amazon may copy your product as Amazon Basics product, right? Okay. But in any case, I just wanted to let you guys know that if you are shipping from China to Japan, I know that Mandy's already selling in Japan for 3 months. I'm curious if you have any questions or what you're doing on that. AGL just released this news last week. Okay, you can see streamlined ocean freight from China to Japan, so you can use AGL now. So if you're wondering, hey, how do I ship it from China? If you're selling on Amazon, you can use AGL. So you'll save money and you also save time. Okay. All right. The other big thing is is anybody sourcing product from India, Vietnam, or Thailand? I'm curious. If you are, can you type just in the chat where you're sourcing from? You don't have to tell the product, but I'm just curious, are you sourcing from any of these countries? Okay. The reason I mention this is because Japan actually has some free trade agreements with certain countries in Southeast Asia, including India, Vietnam, Thailand. So certain products can actually come in from these countries duty free into Japan. So that means that not only are you eliminating the tariffs that you're paying from China to the US, you could be even cutting out the duty if it comes in duty free. So just like think about that for a minute. Like that means lower duties, that means lower landed costs, and that means more profit, that means more money in your pocket. Okay. So that's another big advantage if you're sourcing from these countries. Okay. All right. So bridge number five, I'm just going to cover this very quickly. Launch strategy. Okay. The number one launch strategy for Japan is if you're already selling on Amazon. Remember earlier I asked if you're already selling on Amazon. Okay. Is to carry over your reviews from Amazon US or Amazon EU to Japan. So the beauty is with Amazon is there's the global selling program. So what you can do is you can carry over all of your reviews on the same SKU from Amazon US, Amazon UK, Amazon EU, etc. into Japan. So that means day one when you launch. If you have like let's say 700 reviews in the US, when you launch in Japan, you'll start with 700 reviews. Okay, so that's like the number one launch strategy in Japan because Japanese customers they're very um, risk averse, so they don't want to be like the first person to jump into the pool, so to speak, right? So they want to see reviews, they want to see social proof. Okay, so this is huge. All right. So the other good thing, as I mentioned earlier, is you need way fewer reviews to be in Japan. Okay, so another example, I mean, this is kind of an extreme example of diapers, right? Like in the US, Pampers diapers, I mean, like the number one like bestseller, it had like 70,486 reviews, but in Japan, there was only 13 reviews. Okay, this is kind of an extreme example, but across the board, you're going to see lower reviews. Like you're going to see reviews in like hundreds and even like dozens rather than like tens of thousands. Okay, so that's one like huge advantage selling in Japan, lower reviews and launch strategy. Okay, so we're going to move on to bridge number six. That's to optimize sales and marketing. Okay, on a high level, Amazon PPC in Japan, the overall cost will be lower than the US and EU. There's also like all the new ad promotions, everything is all there. The different like bid management tools, the data, etc. That's all there. So if you're already comfortable with that, you can do all of the ads in Japan. Obviously, you have to deal with the translation and the nuances of knowing the search terms. So best to either if you know Japanese, you can do it yourself, or to hire someone. There are some AI tools out there as well. They're fairly new. That's something else that you can consider as well. Okay. The other big thing in Japan is external marketing. Influencer marketing is very effective in Japan. Social media is key. So there are some examples of influencer marketing. YouTube is big. TikTok is catching fire. Like TikTok Shop just launched a few months ago in Japan. One of the brands that we worked with in the past, like an ice cream brand, they like they went viral on like Japanese social media. Instagram is really big as well, and then through that, their sales spiked, and they were even able to get on TV. Right, so influencer marketing is really big. Shout out to my friend Ritu Chaba. She spoke at our conference in Japan a couple years ago, and she really shared a lot about this as well. So just to give you guys an idea of the different social media apps. Okay, the number one social media app in Japan is not TikTok, it's not Instagram. It's actually an app called Line. Has anyone heard of Line? Line. I'm just curious. Has anyone? Mandy has heard of it. Okay, so Mandy's the pro. Reagan, yes. Reagan says yes. Mandy's heard of it. Peter says no. Bill says no. Okay. Line is a super app. So it's kind of like WhatsApp meets like Facebook Messenger. on steroids. And the cool thing is you can get line friends. So basically, you're creating an audience or you're creating a list that you can message. Okay, so a lot of the successful Amazon Japanese brands that we're seeing, what they do is, within TOS, of course, they have some QR code on the packaging where, they can offer like a coupon or they can offer like a video about the product, how to use it, and when someone scans it with their phone in Japan, it connects to their line. So you add them as a line friend. All right. So that's like your almost like your email list, right? So that way you can remarket to them when you have a sale or you have a new product launch. Obviously, stay within TOS compliance. Don't say like, hey, can you leave a review for my product? I'll give you a 500 yen coupon. No, like don't do that. Okay, within TOS compliance. But I just wanted to share with you. Line is the number one app, most popular app. Everyone, like, from kids to like adults, like, when people like add each other, they add their over line. They don't, add over like, phone numbers anymore. Okay. Um, Twitter or X. This is still surprisingly, for some, very popular in Japan. The reason is because when Twitter first came out, some of you guys remember there was the 140 character limit with Japan's script. It's very concise. So they were able to really express themselves better than in other longer languages. And number two is like the anonymity of that, right? It's not like Facebook where you're supposed to register with your real name. So like, Japanese people are like, more conscious in that respect. So Twitter is or X is still very big in Japan. Instagram is big. TikTok is big as well. So this data was from 2023. We did see a spike. There's more growth in TikTok. Like I see a lot of like Japanese like high school girls or like like on the street here in Shibuya doing like dancing and stuff like that like on their phone. So they're all over TikTok as well. Okay. All right, so those are the six bridges to selling in Japan. Seventh bridge is I created a selling on Amazon Japan scorecard. So it walks you through these six bridges and it can help you score like how likely your product will succeed. So, and I also have several other free training videos. So if you're interested, feel free to scan the QR code or you can go to the link below. So if my assistant Lovely, if you have that link handy, if you can drop that in the chat as well. I'm happy to take any questions right now, guys. We still have a couple minutes before we close out. And then also, if you are interested in working with me, I have very limited bandwidth, but if you are a 7 or 8 figure brand interested in Japan, I have a Google form that you guys can fill out if you're interested. Totally optional. If not, no worries. I just hope the training today we were able to add some value. Okay. So we'll put that link in the chat, guys, if anyone is interested. So questions, guys. Any questions? Mandy says, yeah. Mandy says, very helpful, Gary. I wish I'd seen this a few months ago. Well, what better late than never. So happy to have you here. Peter says income tax in Japan. I think you mean sales tax. If you mean sales tax, it's 10%. It's called consumption tax, 10%. Carissa asks, will the recording be shared? Yes, we will share the recording with Ben and the team at Accrueme. So I believe they will share that with you. If you did RSVP, we'll also share the recording with you over email as well. Okay. Manny says it would have saved a lot of research. Peter says GST sales tax in Japan. Yes, we just answered that a minute ago. It's 10%. It's 10%. Okay. Yes, there will be a recording. Okay. Manny asks, can you recommend the best way to get influencer marketing in Japan? Is this something you offer? Yes, I do have a partner. They're an influencer marketing agency. So if you like to fill out the form that we put in earlier, definitely we can help you in that respect. Obviously, it depends on the product. I mean, if it's like a trash bag or something, then that may be more difficult. But if you are interested, definitely reach out to me. Okay. So if there are no other questions, I'm curious, will you sell in Japan this year? I'm just curious if you can type yes or no before we close out. Will you plan to sell in Japan this year? Meanwhile, Peter had a question. Great presentation and very thought-provoking. What level of sales in US or Europe would you recommend going into Japan? I say it would be good to get high six figures or seven figures. The reason is because you want an established track record first, and then that way you can carry over the reviews. Unless, Peter, if you know the Japanese market, if you're in Japan or if you can speak Japanese, then you may want to consider going in first. But if you are an established seller, you have those advantages, especially with the reviews. Okay. Reagan says he's probably planning on 2026. Absolutely. Just one thing, guys, I wanted to share with you because I was speaking to an Amazon manager here in Tokyo a couple months ago at a Amazon event. She said recently she's seeing a large influx of Chinese sellers selling into Japan because of the tariffs, right? Because obviously, made in China products going to US, they're getting hit with the 30 plus the 25, at least 55, and the uncertainty, right? Whereas from China to Japan, there's zero tariffs. So I'm not saying like doors going to close tomorrow, but I mean, that's what they say, right? The best time to plant a tree was like 10 years ago. The next best time is to plant today. So just to let you know, and then we're seeing more ad spend, like more sellers, especially Chinese sellers, spend more on ad spend in Amazon Japan. So literally, I was just told this about a month ago. Okay, so just to keep you guys posted about that. Okay. Bill says, can I sell made in USA supplements in Japan? It depends. There are certain ingredients in Japan that are regulated. So if you have a specific question, feel free to reach out to me. I can contact, I can check for you. Okay, I have a partner that does import and compliance. Okay. Peter says have reviews up to 800, but not a high six figure, seven figure seller. Average product value $30. Okay. I would follow what we shared in this presentation earlier, especially with product market fit. Use the tools you have at your disposal. Go onto Amazon Japan, type in the search term in English, and just see how the market looks right now, right? See how competitive it is, see how many sales there are. Use Helium 10, use Data Dive, use Jungle Scout, just to get a general idea. If it looks positive, then I may consider it. If it's like a taco holder, if it's not selling, then I would sit it out for now. Okay. All right, guys. I know we covered a lot today. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. Um, if you have any questions, feel free to email me as well. I put up my email on screen, Gary at 8020sourcing.com. And again, if you are interested in working with me, I do have some limited spots available if you're a 7 to 8 figure seller. All right. Have a great day, guys, and good luck out there. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.